Today I'm making Roblox's scariest and most realistic SCP-106. After I posted the SCP-173 video, a bunch of you asked if I could do SCP-106 next, and honestly, I knew this one would be way more intense. SCP-106 is a lot more complex than the other SCPs I've created, so I figured why not challenge myself and make Roblox's best SCP-106 game. Little did I know, this would be a long journey, but the end result is 100% worth it, so let's get straight into it. In this video, I'm going to show a part of game development that I usually skip over, the planning stage. I've always avoided this because, let's be honest, it's not exactly the most exciting part. But for this project, things are going to be a lot more interesting and a lot more complex. Firstly, I set up a Trello board to act as a to-do list for the game. This will be more useful later in development when bugs start showing or players start requesting new features. I then created a new base plate and set up all of the folders properly. In my previous games, I'd just wing it and make random scripts whenever I felt like it, with barely any structure. And surprise, surprise, this has caused issues. To help with the structure and ways to make the game more fun to play, I asked AI to give me a game plan. Don't worry, I didn't just copy a plan directly from AI, but it did produce some good ideas that I'll include in the game to make it more fun. Now that a basic plan had been made, it was time to import a scary SCP-106 model. Even before I started this project, I knew exactly which model would be the best for the game. I'm sure you guys can predict this too, the one from SCP Unity. I would even say that this is the scariest model that SCP Unity developers created, and on top of that, there's no licensing issues with using these. Some of you guys said that I should be modeling all of the SCPs myself, but personally I believe that it would be stupid to avoid using something with this quality. Also, I'm not a modeler and I'm not an animator, and I don't have time to learn these skills. But in the future, if I can't find a good model online, I'll hire someone to make one for me. I still had a quick look on Sketchfab in case something better popped up, and there were a few good options, but none came close to the Unity version. So I imported the model into Roblox and ran into an issue. The model had two separate textures.
Oh my god, bro.
One for the body and one for the clothes, but only one mesh. That meant that I could either use the body texture and ruin the clothes, or use the clothes texture and ruin the body. Neither of those options were good enough for me, so I reached out to the guy who uploaded the Sketchfab model, asking if he could help me fix it. And to my surprise, he replied quickly and was super helpful because he had seen my videos before. He gave me a perfect solution that saved a ton of time, so thank you so much. Finally, one by one, I imported all of the animations. And, I didn't import those. Must have been someone else. It was finally time to work on SCP-106's AI. This is for sure the most complex AI that I've attempted so far, so planning it is crucial, otherwise things would break fast. So I created a brief plan to act as my guide while scripting. Here's the idea. 106 will only start a hunt if he's triggered by something. That something could be the femur breaker, opening his containment doors, or other in-game events. Once he's triggered, he will emerge, either rising from the floor or phasing through a wall. He will then chase the unlucky player who disturbed him and will not stop. At the moment, I can think of 4 ways that a hunt can finish. If there are no more players nearby after he kills his target, if bright lights are flashed in his face, if the hunt takes too long and he gets bored, or if he's recontained using the femur breaker. I started simple, just getting him to follow the player around. Luckily, I have a ton of experience with this, with almost all of my previous games. Nothing fancy yet. Over time, I'll improve the AI to include features such as teleporting, attacking, and much more. But so far, this is a pretty good foundation. The next step was the emerging. This was a nightmare. So I wanted him to emerge from either a wall or a floor, depending on the situation. And it sounds pretty easy, right? Well, it wasn't. There were so many different angles and raycasts involved. So I got very confused, and from the looks of it, so did the SCP. This genuinely had me tweaking, but after far too long and way too much trial and error, I finally got it working smoothly. He now rises up out of the floor or emerges through walls cleanly. Was it worth the effort? Absolutely. To make it even more realistic, I added some goopy particles for when he emerges, and a sticky black trail that follows him around when he walks. This is accurate to SCP lore and just creepy. Once he could move and emerge, I added in a basic attack animation as well as a quick jump scare. I will improve this later though. SCP-106 then plays a despawn animation once the hunt has been completed, where he leaves through the floor again. The jump scare was an absolute pain because I had to get all of the camera angles just right once again, but eventually it worked perfectly. For now, this behavior is enough to do the job. He emerges, chases, attacks, and despawns. Once Once the full map is built, I'll make the AI more complex by making SCP-106 teleport in front of you if you move too far from him, because not knowing where he could be is much scarier, and it's also lore accurate, so you can't get angry at me again. Now that SCP-106 can chase and kill players, it's time to build one of the most iconic parts of his behavior, the pocket dimension. The pocket dimension is a strange place that 106 uses to trap his victims. It's a warped, decaying place that feels completely disconnected from reality. In-game, it's where players will be sent if 106 catches them, but doesn't kill them outright. Once you're stuck inside, you'll have to somehow find a way out, if one even exists. For this game, I'm going to make two different pocket dimensions. One will be the classic hallway one that you may have seen in other SCP games, and the second one, however, will be a bit different. It will have parkour. I wanted to make something more engaging for the players, and it also adds some variety to the game. Before I started building the pocket dimension, I needed to find a perfect texture to give it a creepy, decaying look. Roblox's textures wouldn't give the vibe that I'm looking for, so I searched online and I found an AI texture generator website. I created a few potential textures and asked my Discord server which one they thought looked best, but in the end, everyone concluded that they all look pretty crap. So after wasting a bunch of time on that, I found a much better texture on ambient CG that beats all of the AI ones. I then worked on building the first pocket dimension area, the classic one with the hallways, and after about an hour, it looked pretty good. I'm actually quite proud of myself for how this one turned out. Adding the pocket dimension to the SCP-106 AI was surprisingly easy to do. I just made them teleport to the dimension instead of just dying. Here's how it looks. To make it even creepier, I added a camera tilting effect to mess around with the player's balance and give off the pocket dimension feel. It was then time to work on the second pocket dimension, the one with parkour. This should hopefully make the game a bit more fun to play. I got to work on building this one, and holy shit, it took way more effort than I expected. I ended up spending about 3 hours just building, tweaking things, and experimenting with different effects to try and make it look decent. And as you can tell, building definitely isn't my strong point. But with all the particles, it doesn't look too bad. If the game does well, I'll hire someone to improve it. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. Finally, I wanted to add footstep sounds for the pocket dimension to make it even more immersive. So I looked online and these sound a bit wrong. Eventually, I found some decent sounds, so I went to FL Studio and chopped them up into 4 main footstep sounds. I then imported them into Roblox Studio, added them to the footstep sound script, and they worked perfectly. Now, obviously, I needed a map for the game, something both realistic and scary with enough space to be chased around in. Of course, I've already had 2 insanely scary and realistic maps made for my other 2 SCP games, built by the legend himself, Minion. So I politely asked him if he'd be down to make another one for me, and very willingly he agreed to do it. So I sent over the details for the build. Over time, he sent me a bunch of progress pictures. Then eventually, he finished the map, and it looked really good. It's big enough to be chased around for a while, and also has a couple dead ends. The containment room looks incredible as well. However, as you can expect, something had to break. Once again, Roblox's pathfinding caused a bunch of issues, and I had to do some collision fixes around the map. Sadly, a few of these issues are still in the game because I can't find a way to fix them. Once that was done, I added an intermission system. There's a 60-second countdown before the containment chamber opens up, and once it opens up, SCP-106 is unleashed. It looks seriously good in game. If you know anything about SCP-106, you'll know that the femur breaker is a key part of recontaining him. In the lore, it's a machine used to lure 106 back into his containment chamber by breaking someone's femur and making them scream. Yeah, it's pretty messed up. So I needed to find a good femur breaker model to add to the game. Sketchfab either didn't have any or didn't let me search for them. So I decided it was time to find a modeler. So in my Discord server, I made an announcement asking if anyone there would be able to model the femur breaker. And loads of people replied, but just see for yourself. Luckily, soon after the announcement, my builder, Minion, said he knew a great modeler who would do it for me. So after a couple messages, he said he'd do it, and the end result a day later was insane. I then needed someone to make a femur breaker animation as well, because I tried, and yeah, it wasn't the best. Luckily, I had seen someone in my Discord server show off their insanely good animations for their own game. They had even made a very questionable animation recently, so I asked them if they'd be up for the job, and they said yes. I then sent over the model, and here's the finished animation. Yeah, that's a bit better than my one. I then scripted a system that allows players to sit in the femur breaker. They can leave it by jumping out, disconnecting, or dying. However, once the button has been pressed, they can't leave anymore and they're doomed. After that, I jumped into FL Studio video to create the sound design for the femur breaker, which is basically just machine noises and screaming. Some of the voice lines were done by me, and some were part of the original Scream, and others were just sounds that I found online. I think I actually did a decent job with these. To finish it off, I added a simple blood spatter to the femur breaker. I'm not going to go too realistic with this because I don't want Roblox to ban me once again. Finally, I placed the femur breaker into the containment box where it belongs, and moved the button that triggers it into the control room. It was finally time to work on some finishing touches. Firstly, in order to make the game fully functional, I needed to add another way to recontain SCP-106, besides using the femur breaker. This will be by flashing the extremely bright light in his containment room when he is inside, which can stun him. So I created another button in the control room, which will cause the lights to flash. As you can see, it sounds a bit like a machine gun without a delay, so I added a 20-second cooldown to stop people from overusing it. I then made it so if SCP-106 is in the containment room when the lights flash, there is a chance that he gets recontained. There is also a chance that the hunt just ends or nothing happens at all. This adds a bit of uncertainty. Next, I made it so that SCP-106 teleports in front of the player if they get too far away when he's hunting. This made hunts a lot more intense, and after hours and hours of testing and bug fixing, the game was finally ready to publish. This is no doubt the best SCP game that I've created so far, and if you agree with me, let me know in the comments. You can play it now. The link is in the pinned comment, so be sure to check it out. If you like how the scripted SCP-106 turned out and want to use it in your own games, it's available on my Patreon, complete with the pocket dimension. You can get it with the link in the description. This game honestly took a ton of effort to create, especially whilst filming a video at the same time. So if you enjoyed and want more videos like this, make sure to like the video and subscribe. What should I make next? Let me know in the comments. See ya.